Welcome to the tens of thousands of you, maybe hundreds of thousands, watching around the world on the multiple platforms. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. I have a packed show for you today. So much information to get out to you. Two amazing guests coming up in this hour. Please take a second to hit subscribe, hit share, hit thumbs up, all that good stuff. But we're starting off, and I will have more information about Israel, Palestine, Gaza, all that stuff coming up later in the show. I've already done just about 3 straight hours of coverage on that. So if you want any of that, that is on my channel as well, rumble.com/LeeCamp. But to start off today, very important news continues around the world, even as that catastrophic war goes on in Israel, Palestine. And so I'm getting to some of that, which I'm very excited to be covering. Although, of course, most of these stories, it's not good that they're happening, but it's good we're continuing the fight. This first guest, I have interviewed him once before, but it was many years ago. I believe while he was running for Congress, and it is pertaining to a fight that many of you knew about, many of you followed, but unfortunately, many of us have stopped following it. But that does not mean the fight doesn't continue. That is the fight in Standing Rock, the fight against the DAPL, the Dakota Access Pipeline. And for this opening segment, I'm excited to learn what goes on all those fronts and how that fight is continuing. And I am joined by Chase Iron Eyes. Hello.
Very good to see you, sir.
Good to see you again. It's been a few years.
It's flew right by. It seems like just yesterday we were in the thick of it, and I want to thank you for covering important issues just with no hesitation. Thank you very much for doing that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I am proud to say that I think I was definitely one of the earlier ones with a national show talking about the Standing Rock fight. I remember it was before so many people went out there from outside, but I remember there was the youth ran from the Dakotas all the way to Washington D.C. Towards the beginning of that fight, and I remember covering that story. And obviously, in many ways, it didn't go the way we wanted, but I was wondering if we can just start. I know since it's been at least a couple of years since a lot of people have kind of stuck their head into this information. If you could remind everyone of what this fight is about.
Well, thank you for that. So I grew up on the Standing Rock Nation, or the Standing Rock Indian Reservation, which is home to the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. But I also have roots on the Pine Ridge Reservation, the Oglala Lakota Nation. And I believe it was my wife, Dr. Sarah Jumping Eagle, who reached out to your show, who reached out to Lee Camp. She's a big fan. And she said, hey, there's this Dakota Access Pipeline issue, and it involves a lot, right? Indigenous nations, indigenous peoples have signed treaties with the United States, with Canada, all over the English thinking universe, Australia, New Zealand. We signed treaties with these fledgling colonies who now call themselves Americans or Canadians. And when we signed these treaties, we agreed to defend and protect each other, to defend and protect each other's sovereignty and our rights to live by our own laws. And of course, the treaties were violated almost before the ink dried on them. We're talking in 1868. And this land where the pipeline ended up being aggressively and in violation of international law, in violation of the Fort Laramie Treaty, which we have with the United States, and even in violation of some of their own federal laws. They moved this pipeline from a place, the capital city of North Dakota, Bismarck, North Dakota, where we were living 2 years prior to the fight against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Well, that city is 90% white American, 90% European American.
Right.
And the Army Corps, I mean, they didn't have to lift a finger. And the Army Corps moved this entire 570,000 barrel pipeline per day from north of Bismarck, North Dakota, upstream from Bismarck, Mandan, North Dakota, right by the Indian reservation where we were living at the time. And so I was in the very first meeting with two powerful women who are no longer here, and that is LaDonna Brave Bull Ellard and Joy Braun. And that was the beginning of Sacred Stone Camp. At the time, I was the democratically endorsed candidate for the lone congressional seat in the state of North Dakota.
Yeah.
And there was a storm brewing. There's a fight brewing. And we didn't know, how are we, an impoverished and delegitimized Indian tribe, going to stand up against the forces of big extraction, right? Too big to fail extraction. Like these are conglomerates. These are monsters. And sometimes they're bad actors, as you catch a lot of time in Western corporate extractive capitalism. Like, they're trying to do things on the cheap. The cheaper they can do it, the better. And so that was the beginning of the resistance camp, the Sacred Stone Camp, April 1st, 2016. I was on my way to my congressional campaign office, and I ran into the caravan of hundreds of horseback riders and people in vehicles, people walking, people running. And it was a beautiful day. But now thinking back, that's what, 7 years ago.
Crazy.
It's literally like that. And we've been traumatized. We've been through a lot. Like, this pipeline, there was almost 1,000 people arrested over the course of the 7 months that we maintained these peaceful, unarmed, prayerful resistance camps. And scores of thousands of people cycled through there, came in person. I mean, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, there's famous video of her in what was called the Dome at the protest camps in Standing Rock. And people were witnessing the brutalities that were being inflicted on unarmed water protectors by a corporate militarized state. At some point, the private sector, the private security sector, became involved, and the tone of the entire resistance changed. Now, there's documentaries out there. Oyate is out there. That's the name of a documentary. The media has covered this thing, but the listeners may not have had a chance to tap back into exactly what is happening. The pipeline is there. We consider it an act of international aggression and trespass, because it is in our territory, and it was done without our free, prior, and informed consent, which we have a right to as Indigenous nations. It was done in violation of federal law, the National Environmental Policy Act. Just only now is there a full EIS being ordered. If you recall, there's many poignant moments of that struggle. September 3rd, vicious, deadly attack dogs were used on water protectors, women and children.
Yeah,
and that was
that's probably one of the moments that people remember most. Was literally attack dogs sent in by police against completely unarmed, peaceful protesters. There's also images that speak 1,000 words of, people sitting quietly in prayer circles or other manner, and they're surrounded by militarized police. It's just crazy. Yeah.
It was a pivotal moment. We were involved from the beginning of the camps, and after the dog attacks, we witnessed an explosion in our numbers, in the amount of people who saw that. And symbologically or archetypally, Christopher Columbus was using those kinds of attack dogs on Indigenous peoples. And here we are in 2016 seeing the exact same thing. And so, and then there was the October 27th, the largest arrest day. There was November 20th, that's Backwater Bridge, when the water cannons were used to spray people in sub-zero temperatures. So there was a lot of brutality that was inflicted that Morton County has not been held accountable for yet. The Tiger Swan, the private military contractors who were there doing battle briefings every morning, they've never been held accountable yet. But the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and the Oglala Sioux Tribe and the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe have maintained the fight in the courts since 2016. Since 2016, and since the end of the camp, the fight has shifted into the courtroom, and the Army Corps of Engineers has been compelled to, they've been ordered to, by a federal court, to issue a full environmental impact statement. That's all we've ever seem to want when dealing with the United States or the Army Corps is for them to follow their own laws in dealing with tribal nations. And so
because
that's where we're
legally
at.
they're supposed to do that. They're supposed to have an environmental impact statement that can impact that then tells whether they can build these things.
Yes, it's and some would argue that it's designed to mitigate against an already presupposed, completion of a project. But when it comes to tribal nations, we have unceded territorial rights, we have hunting and fishing rights that have not been accounted for, sacred sites. I mean, with Energy Transfer Partners, the reason why the dog attacks happen is because very quickly, Tim Mintz, who was the first tribal historic preservation officer in the nation for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, in 1992, he achieved that post, a historic post. He was the expert witness in the lawsuit that Standing Rock was maintaining against the Army Corps of Engineers. And September 2nd, Tim Mintz, along with others, filed pleadings which identified very sensitive sacred sites, burial sites, vision quest sites, culturally sensitive sites. And within 24 hours of that filing, Energy Transfer Partners attorneys leaked that to the company, and they moved all of their heavy equipment more than 20 miles to begin destroying those culturally sensitive sites and those properties to make it a moot point. That's what caused September 3rd. And this company has one of the most abhorrent records for oil spills. We are dealing with a bad actor here. And now the Army Corps of Engineers, like in the beginning, they did a preliminary, or it's called an environmental assessment. It's not a full EIS, but the company that they hired to do that is called Energy Resource Management. And they are a company that is textbook conflicted out of it. They have a conflict of interest because they are a member of the American Petroleum Institute, and they signed on to amicus briefs that opposed the Standing Rock Sioux tribe's legal position. So they're trying to cook the books from within. And now with this new EIS that they've issued a draft EIS, and they're asking for public comment. And that's what we want your listeners to go to stand.
Looks like Chase Ironized internet connection just cut out.
They're putting 5 alternatives on the table.
He's back. Chase, you actually, right as you were telling people which website to go to, your internet feed cut out. So if you could just tell them again what they should be doing.
Thank you very much. Yes, go to standingrock.org and lakotalaw.org. There you'll find the latest information about these public hearings, wherein they're going to take information, public comment about the 5 alternatives that they've offered. And one of their alternatives is simply to double the flow of oil from 570,000 barrels per day to 1.1 million barrels per day. And as the Sioux Nation, we are saying that not only do we have free, prior, and informed consent, but according to the treaties, when you want to build infrastructure, whether it's railroads, bridges, pipelines, power lines, when you build infrastructure through our territory, through our country, through our nation, the Sioux Nation, we have to be paid for that. There needs to be transfer fees. If some European country wants to put a gas pipeline through a different European country, they're going to pay that country off of every unit that is flowing through there. So in our eyes, this is a trespass. It is not only a nuisance, it's an act of aggression, and we're still fighting to be made whole.
And since so the DAPL has been put in and is running, and as far as I last heard, and every pipeline leaks. I always stress that when we're having these pipeline fights around the country, every single pipeline would leaks. There are 1,000 leaks a year. Most of them are relatively small, but many of them are not. But even the small ones can have a horrifying impact to the land and the water. And there's already been leaks in Dakota Access Pipeline, correct?
The pipeline has leaked. Energy Transfer Partners has the most leaks of any company out there that we could find. In fact, they've had so many leaks that the United States government has prohibited them from even achieving small supply contracts. Like they've been suspended right now. And speaking about oil spills, yes, it has leaked 500, and the leak detection software that is being used only detects above 1%. So this is a giant pipeline. This is 570,000 barrels. So 5,000 barrels could spill, and we might not even know about it. This thing is so far underground. And because of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, we don't have the financial wherewithal. The Sioux Nation, the Pine Ridge Reservation, we don't have the financial wherewithal to respond accordingly to a very hazardous, dangerous, worst case discharge scenario that I know that our emergency management directors, like on the Standing Rock Nation, he's a good friend, a good mentor. His name is Elliot Ward. He's been the emergency manager. Guys like Tim Mintz, people like Chairwoman Janet Elkhire, they're doing their level best to be ready for a worst case scenario discharge. Meanwhile, the Army Corps of Engineers is saying, hey, if the worst case happens, we're going to truck in 18 million bottles of water. And by the way, oil is very buoyant, so it floats to the surface. It's going to be easy for us to deal with. Lee, if you were to go out to our river today, the Missouri River, you cannot even get to it. It's so low. The Army Corps manages the Missouri River in a way that disadvantages the Sioux Nation.
Wow. Yeah, I always love that lie they say that, oh, it's if there is a spill, we can clean it up. It's impossible to clean up oil in water, and they make a big show of it. I call it like cleanup theater or something. They go down there in suits and they have literally paper towels sometimes, and it's just a show to pretend they're cleaning it up.
We better not have Biden out there throwing paper towels at us. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can stomach that.
Exactly. Are the representatives, the political representatives in North Dakota, do they even pay attention to these concerns anymore? Or are they just done with it?
It's a crazy life works crazy like that. The guy that I was running against, his name is Kevin Kramer. He's now a senator. He went from the lone Congress rep to he is now the senator, one of the senators of the state of North Dakota. And Kelly Armstrong is the other, he's the congressional rep. But in the state of North Dakota's constitutions, or in their constitution, in their governing document, they espouse and they encourage the development of fossil fuels, the extractive development of fossil fuels, whether that's mining or whether that's coal or any time that a state has it enshrined in their constitution that they are beholden to big oil, they're beholden to big extraction. You can bet that they're going to act in accordance with that lobby and with those demands. So Kevin Kramer has been making overtures. He's been reaching out to the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. He's been reaching out, trying to do other things to kind of make up for the fact that they want oil flow. Not only do they want oil flowing through Dakota Access Pipeline, they want to double the amount of oil that flows through there every day without any other considerations. I mean, in the best case scenario, in according to North Dakota's leadership's eyes, they want to do more studies, take into account our hunting and fishing, our subsistence hunting and fishing that's going to be dramatically impacted, and try to mitigate through the paperwork process the impact it's going to have on us. So we're not getting any kind of indication from the state of North Dakota or the state of South Dakota, for that matter, that they care at all about America's drinking water, about the Sioux Nation's drinking water. 18 million people depend on the integrity of the Missouri River, and we're going to keep fighting. We have no choice, because we recognize the existential crisis really that this country is engaged in right now. There's a lot going on in the world, and I want to just take a special moment to recognize the work you're doing, the work we're trying to do to give voice to the atrocities that are happening in the Middle East right now. It's a very complex matter, and I appreciate people's patience and not jumping to form your opinion just based on the breadth of an Instagram post or a Snapchat video. Like, please, we have to recognize each other's humanity in that instance, and in this case with tribal nations vis-a-vis Americans and the United States.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate you saying that. I don't want to use up any more of your time, but I truly appreciate you having here. We didn't even mention, of course, that we have to stop fossil fuels because of climate crisis, which also impacts our water and our land and our air and everything. But so one more time, if people want to help or try and force the hand of those environmental impact statements, that standingrock.org is where they can get that info, right?
Yes, sir. Standingrock.org and lakotalaw.org has information. Continue to seek your peace, brother, and all your listeners, keep moving.
Thank you again. All right. Truly appreciate having Chase Iron Eyes on here. I hope he comes back soon. And of course, that fight continues. As do so many of our fights. We have the way our rapid fire news works these days, and our ADD culture. You could have an incredibly important story like the Dakota Access Pipeline, and that story even held longer than most. It held for many months, but then people move on and they stop talking about it and they act like it's over, it's done. But of course, the fights continue, the environmental impact continues, the struggle continues, and so it is important to keep talking about these things and keep and keep trying to bring them back in front of people and reminding us what we're fighting for, and that these fights continue every day. I'm about to bring in my second guest of the hour. Like I said, in a bit, I have updates on Israel, Gaza, that horror show that's going on there. Going to debunk some more of the propaganda on that front. But I also have another guest coming on Wednesday. I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow night is my second ever live Zoom comedy event. I have two special guests. Jafar Khan from Redacted Tonight, musical guest James Kennedy. It's only $5 to see the whole thing. The entire hour that I'll be performing, it's probably about an hour and a half show, but the entire hour I'll be performing is completely new and not the same as the September hour if you attended that one. And all of this is just $5, and it's all at leecamp.simpletix.com. And I, in case you're worried about it, none of it has to do with Israel Palestine, because all of the show and everything was, I've been working on it for a month now, so it was not written in the last few days. So in case you were thinking like I'm just not in a mood to laugh about that topic right now, I certainly understand that. But this is the tickets are at leecamp.simpletix.com, and it's $5, which I feel like pretty reasonable to join us for that hour. And again, just to point this out, this is a live performance. This is not a video that I'm airing. It's all of us are going to be there live with you, and I'll be performing it again on Wednesday. But those are the only two performances. I might post clips at some point, but those are the only two times that you'll ever get to see this hour. So I hope you'll join me there. leecamp.simpletix.com tomorrow night. Okay. For my second guest, this is a jam-packed show today, so I am excited about this. And weirdly, there is a very clear theme of the show today. See, I don't have the forethought or even a producer or anything to put together themed shows where I have a bunch of people on to talk about similar topics. But I ended up with it today, so that is exciting. In that both of these topics have to do with corporate exploitation of the land. It has to do with the abuse of our environment by corporations and those who are harmed by it, and our government not giving a fuck about those people. This seems to be a theme. I know that we're hearing about that type of thing more and more, but these are two: Dakota Access Pipeline and the East Palestine train derailment, train explosion, train burning that went on in Ohio. many of you remember that story. That was only a few months ago that was at the forefront of all of our news. And the other reason this is a good theme for the episode is because it has the word Palestine in it. So also important. But so I'd like to introduce someone who has probably been doing, of those of us on YouTube and other streaming platforms, probably doing the most work on this topic. So I got to give her kudos for that. And you may know her as Savage Joy. She hosts the Postmortem Breakdown. But please welcome Joy Marie Mann. Hello.
Hello, and thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. You've been doing excellent work on this topic, and as with the Dakota Access Pipeline, it's so important to have these people that keep digging into these topics even after your mainstream media wants to ignore them, your government wants to say we're done with that, and yet the harm, the lives impacted, those type of things keep going on, and it's important that people like you are still bringing us the reality. But you have kind of breaking news on this front. It's not just a repeat of the kind of initial story of this. But I guess we should start with that. So let's start with if you can just remind everybody how this all began and what happened in East Palestine.
Yeah, so, and I do want to thank you from the residents. They are super appreciative. You're having me on to do this. So how this started is February 3rd, over 8 months ago. 8 months ago. The train derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, and it had all kinds of fun chemicals on it. One of my friends who's a resident saw a burning train car go past her front lawn. There were explosives. They also did things to the explosion that weren't necessary, that created even more toxins. Over 8 months in, it is still an absolute clusterfuck. It's bad. I have gone twice. I've traveled there to bring mutual aid. So, U-Hauls of bottled water and groceries and clothes and diapers. And these people have nothing. Like, to give you an idea, before the train derailment, their median income was $27,000 for a 4-person household.
Was that 27,000? And I just looked up the other day, the average American household is, I believe, 70,000 a year.
Wow. I wish I was average.
Yeah. No. And so these people are struggling. How many of them left town? Because I know that's not easy for a lot of people without a lot of money, but did many of them leave?
Not many, to be honest. People seem to think, because they follow, the news and the Biden's great, narrative, people seem to think that Norfolk Southern is taking care of them. Not the case. There's a gentleman who is literally at ground zero, and he has not even been given a hotel. He tried to go into his home and was threatened with arrest because it's just way too toxic. So they won't let him in, but they won't even give him a hotel. There are people.
So they've roped off areas of town that people can't go back to their homes.
That's the only one I know of.
Oh, okay.
That is the only one, because everyone else is like a couple hundred feet, so that's not considered ground zero. So yeah, they're still allowed home. Even within the 1 mile radius, a lot of people have stayed. I mean, these people, and that 27,000 was pre the derailment. So a lot of these people lost their job. They have nothing, and they're counting on, people, activists like myself, and honestly, their own community to help each other, because they just don't have anything. And these people are so sick. I cannot explain enough how sick they are. But when it's a hostage situation. You stay here and get more sick, or you go live in your car. I mean, so people like to think, oh, Norfolk Southern is giving them places to live. Yeah, no, Norfolk Southern is saying they are. And then they make the residents pay for things out of pocket and then beg to be reimbursed. And then when they go to the place, they are shamed. And why would you need this reimbursed? Why would you buy this? Like, they don't let them buy groceries. You know, they, one guy, he had the only room they had in the hotel had like 2 beds, and he's by himself. He had to pay for it by himself. It was excess. So
Wow.
there's all these things that are going on behind the scenes that they're not talking about in the news. These people are suffering so bad every day, over 8
And
months in.
and I once saw, I don't remember the math, but someone did the math of how much it would cost Norfolk Southern, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah,
How much it would cost them to buy out every single resident around that area. Basically, say we're going to buy your house above, at or above market price, so you can have the money to move somewhere else, and it would be, a few weeks or something of Norfolk Southern's income. They could easily buy all these people out, do right by them. I mean, it's already destroying someone's life. So it's not like they've
yeah.
fixed it, but it's far better to say, hey, we're going to pay you top dollar for your house and let you go and buy somewhere safer, you know?
Right. And the interesting thing is now what they're doing is they're going up to scabs, essentially, complete like people that just don't care about their community. This one guy in blast zone, ground zero, probably, well, less than a mile for sure. Norfolk Southern just purchased his house that is worth like $87,000. They just gave him $500,000 for it. Why? He's testifying on their behalf at the next hearing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's public record. So, and then there's a lot of people in this town driving around really expensive sports cars now. Like, I mean, really expensive sports cars. Because the second time I went, I was like, what's up with all these cars in there? I was like, are these residents? And the residents were like, yeah, they're residents. They're unemployed and on food stamps. They're residents. So there are all these shady things going on. And yeah, I mean, you are right. And Norfolk Southern is literally paying more money to not help them. It's insanity.
And I also remember that the train workers union, whatever the name of it is, came forward and said that the failure that caused the derailment is they called it a 19th century failure, meaning these trains don't even have they basically are functioning in the way the trains in the 1800s functioned, and they don't have advanced technology on them because the railroad companies don't even want to put the right safety precautions on.
Right. And 99% of people are going to say, well, Trump's the one that pulled that rule away. Cool. He's not in office. Did you care when he did it? No. Did you bat an eye? No. He's not in office. Biden has the ability to, he's had a declaration of disaster request by multiple representatives, including Ohio ones. And we have petitions by the thousands of signatures. He has had this opportunity to sign this. What would it do? It would bring in FEMA. They need water because they're still bathing in it. Literally. Like, these people are, we brought like pallets of water, and there are people bathing in it still over 8 months in. And you're telling me you can't send in FEMA to give these people water and food at the very least? Like, he doesn't care. So that's the disaster declaration. He came out about 2 weeks ago with this garbage executive order that's like, we're going to start doing this, that, and the other thing. And the only good thing it did mention was cleaning houses, which people have been begging for since day one. And then one of my resident friends said, do you know what that entails? I was like, oh God, what? Literally people coming in and scrubbing the walls. That's it. No fumigation, no, I mean, like, literally, I could do that myself.
Right.
I'll do that myself. Like a
Right.
rag and scrubbing walls. I mean, all their walls are like essentially black at this point because of, toxins, but that,
Well, and yeah, certain kinds of toxic chemicals you can't just easily scrub off with a rag.
right, like they're
Yeah,
already in the walls.
you
Like,
need like pressure washing and shit.
mhm. I
Okay.
really don't think it's livable, even any way they clean it. I don't think it's feasible.
So let's get to this kind of breaking news you have. So set it up for people, and I'm hoping it plays appropriately. It's audio that you took, and set up who you're speaking to, and also I believe it starts with the response to a question. So let people know what question you asked.
Right. So, the guy's name is Mark Durno. He works for the national. My mind went blank. National Security, and he is a lead in the East Palestine EPA. So basically, an environmental terrorist who makes excuses. And on a Sunday night, I got his phone number and I'm like texting him and I'm like, hey, my name is Joy Marie Mann. I'm in from Harrisburg visiting again. I was bringing mutual aid to the people again. And since I'm here, I'd love to meet with you tomorrow. Do you have a moment? Oh, yeah, sure. I'd love to meet with you. How about 3 o'clock? Okay, cool. So I text him again in the morning. Are you still down with meeting? Then I get an email from his assistant and it says, I need to know the questions you're going to be asking him. I don't play that shit. No. Why do you need to know? Fuck that.
Right.
No, this is not some kind of political bullshit. So I said, I've never done that in 6 years of doing this. So I'm not going to. My discussions are very organic, so I'm going to go that way. Then they started ghosting me. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Let's go. So we just went in his office. We just went there and we're like, hi, yes, I was supposed to meet with Mark Durno today and he ghosted me. So what's up with that? And we just have the camera crew, crew meaning my phone, and my friend with the tripod. And we go in there and we just kind of let loose. Then he said, I'd prefer you turn the video off, which he had agreed to. But I did turn the video off. I just kept the sound going.
Yeah.
And it's 91 minutes of him saying reprehensible things, just so disgusting, that he has never said publicly or in front of other residents. The clip that we're going to be sharing here is I was talking to him about 1881A, which Lee is familiar with. It started in Libby, Montana, when there was asbestos in the air. They gave them Medicare for life immediately. So
basically, it's a way that the federal government can give health care to everybody in an area, but with a signing with a swipe of a pen,
yes,
for free. And if there's an environmental impact, so obviously East Palestine would be the prime example for something like that.
Absolutely. And it's in the Obamacare Act, which I brought up. I thought he was, loved someone like that. So I brought it up. He still didn't care. So that's where this clip comes from. This is my response to that. And then his response to me.
Okay, so I'm gonna hopefully this plays correctly. I'm gonna try and play this. It is audio, folks, and I know it's a little hard to hear, but we will clarify what was said after we play it. Oh, I was afraid of this. So for some odd reason, it's not showing when I try and share it. Let me try again, though. Well, since it is just audio, though, I suppose I can just play it and we just won't see this screen capture. But
yeah, it's just like a promo type thing I put on it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna play it without and you know, again, I'm sorry, folks, if this doesn't sound that clear, but we will. It's 90 seconds. 90 seconds long, and we will clarify everything afterwards. So.
What is it going to take?
So, the answer to that question is about my favorite.
I mean, if you have compassion, what would you like to see happen?
I want to see this workshop come to play. I want to see if we can make a connection between the environmental issues and the and health issues that we're being told about. I'm gonna keep coming back to the unbelievable amount of data that we've collected. And again, I enjoy this. It makes it so hard.
When does it come to the point?
We need the health experts to advise. That's
give people health care. Doctors are health experts. These people need, I mean, when you're having, rashes and little kids are bleeding when they pee, and, people are bleeding out their ears and people's teeth are falling out, and, people are being told they'll probably never have kids, and all of these, they can't even see a doctor. That is traumatizing all over. It is exacerbating every single thing they are going through. That is violent. It is inhumane. So who do we talk to? Because these residents have talked to everyone.
Okay, so go over what he said to you, both in that clip, but in general, what did he say that he does not say in public?
So I said, what would you like to see happen? And he said, that's above my pay grade. Essentially, you have no empathy.
I'm not allowed to say what I would like to see. Yeah.
Right. And then I went on. I did quiet one of the things. One of the people in the room was a 4-year-old, my buddy Eddie. And I stated, trigger warning, but I said little boys are peeing out blood. They are getting rashes. They are literally hemorrhaging out of their butt. Like, these things are happening. A 16-year-old girl just told, sorry, you're likely not having kids. There's a gentleman who's a resident who just had a double mastectomy because of a rare form of breast cancer. He's a man.
And this guy's response, the representative of the EPA there says, "Oh, well, we've done." He said something about the breathtaking amount of data we've gotten. Like, they're still trying to find data. It's like when people are bleeding out their ears, you don't need data, you need help.
Absolutely. And throughout, I shared with him the first time I went to East Palestine, I lost a tooth. And I wasn't really sure what it was for, but it was so weird. I got home and my tooth just split in two. And thankfully, it's not a noticeable one. But I was like, oh my God, there was nothing wrong with it. What happened? And the next time I went to East Palestine, I was like, when I got downtown, I was like, man, my teeth are starting to hurt. And they said, oh yeah, everyone's been losing their teeth. I was like, oh my God, that's why it happened, because I was so confused. I got violently ill, vomiting, my legs went numb, um, just lightheaded. My face just lost all feeling. It was so terrifying. I even hallucinated twice. Um, it it is, and I mean, I'm just visiting. Now I go home and a day or two later, I'm fine. I think,
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
But, these people, you think, well, they go away and, they're used to it or what have you. No, every time they go into those areas, they are constantly sick, even
Wow.
just driving through, windows up. So I
Wow.
was trying to explain some of that to them, to him, and vinyl chloride testing, $700 out of pocket. Why can't we give the C word tests for free? And these people have to pay $700 for these tests out of pocket. And then they're like, okay, we have the results, but we don't know what to do now. So they're not helping. They opened a so-called free clinic. It was nothing but PCPs. There were no specialists, there were no nothing. And
Really?
hired by Norfolk Southern, and said things like, well, we don't know what kind of drugs you've done, so these blood tests may not be that accurate. That's how they were being treated. So
Wow.
when it comes to health alone, I mean, people are ending up in the hospital. People are being diagnosed with cancer. Several
So,
people have passed away. And the gentleman who had the double mastectomy and two other people have been diagnosed with cancer. None in their family. None. No symptoms
and
before.
it's so horrifying that this could happen in one of the richest countries in the world. I mean, really the
Mhm.
richest country in the world. And not only these people not taken care of, but we're not given the truth. We're not given the truth about what's going on there, what continues to go on there. Uh, truly, truly horrific. And, like I say, I'm no longer surprised by the way this government, our government, both Democrat and Republican, will behave. But I continue to be disgusted. So you may lose your ability to be shocked, but disgusted, absolutely not. So you're going to reveal more of these clips. Tell everybody how to watch and listen for those. And the more, you've got plenty more information than you've had time to reveal here. So let them know how to get that.
Yeah, so you can find my channel on YouTube and Rockfin, Savage Joy Marie Mann, at 5 p.m. Eastern tonight after Lee's show. I'm going to release the entire 91-minute conversation in full. So you can hear a lot more about how they are in charge of, they are higher ranking than Norfolk Southern, but they're negotiating with them. Or the fact that residents are probably testing positive to these chemicals because they're eating meat and peppers, and they should try taking vitamins. Yeah, there's so put it this way. East Palestine residents are using some of this info, some of this tape in their lawsuits.
Good.
It's powerful.
Good.
It's hardcore.
Well done. Well, keep it up. And thank you for joining us. And thank you for sticking on this story while so many others have moved on.
Absolutely. And if you guys have the ability, if you could go to Joy Marie Mann, buy me a coffee. I am trying to raise money to get back to East Palestine and bring more mutual aid for the third time. Because
what is that again? Is it buymeacoffee.com?
yeah. And if they type in Joy Marie Mann, it should come right up.
Okay. Thank you again. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much, Lee. Much love. Great work.
All right. Joy Marie Mann joining us. I don't want to run out of time here, so I'm gonna plow forth, and the rest of this live stream will be at rumble.com/Lee Camp, as well as my locals page. Everybody at locals, thank you. You make this show possible. But rumble.com/Lee Camp. I'm gonna get into yet more information suggesting maybe Israel knew this attack was going to happen, but also just other, crazy propaganda. I'm going to see how much I can squeeze in before I run out of time. And it's all at rumble.com/Lee Camp, as well as leecamp.net, which is my locals page. And while I switch over the windows, I just want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, I have my live stand-up comedy event while seated. I always have to add the while seated. I'm not going to actually stand for it, but it is stand-up comedy, because stand-up comedy means it's a certain kind of comedy that you do when you do stand-up comedy, and I've been doing it for 25 years. And so it feels very much like stand-up comedy, even though I might be seated. Anyway, the event is, you can get tickets at leecamp.simpletix.com. The hour is called Fear of Death and Other Small Matters. And it's got everything in it. It's got laughs. It's got tears. It is the best hour of comedy that has ever been done. I might be exaggerating on that part, but still, it is a good time. leecamp.simpletix.com. And let me just fix the streams here. It's this Saturday and Wednesday. I do the second